Okay, going to be having a look at just Roop's mesh here and trying to figure out how we can retopo it. I'm going to record it for everyone so it can kind of be a resource so it's fair for everyone, everyone can see stuff we were doing here. So I'm going to do first is just delete a lot of, where's my channel box? I'm going to clean up the scene because I don't need any of this stuff in here. Don't know what these place textures are. So many selection sets. Keep the curves. Keep that as well, I guess. Ah, something broke. That wasn't there before, was it? Oh no, it was there. So I'm just going to start naming everything and converting any smooth mesh to polygons. These are all going to be baked into one, so I'm going to combine them. I'm not sure what we're going to do with these. Also, I assume these ones were meant to be... Like, this doesn't look like string anymore with this corner. I assume it's meant to be something more like this. What is that? Nothing. This is the snake curve. We don't need the snake curve anymore. Normally I'd keep that and extrude along it for the retopo, but I think I can just do it by hand. I'm just going to work under the impression that you were going to do 4 of these. But don't worry, if you had a different plan, I'm still going to demo how you can retopo them. But we only need 1 to retopo and then we duplicate it around. So that could go. This one wasn't being subdivided, if I remember correctly. Cool. Hi. So I'm going to group them into a group called hi, and I'm going to group them into a group called bottle. So, retopo. First thing to do, center the pivot on the world, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom of the mesh. Oops. Press D, snap to the lowest point on the mesh, and I'm going to bring this whole thing up so it's standing on top of the grid. It's just easier for our understanding. The snake. So I'm actually just going to, because all my pivots are in the right place now, and also if we select the objects individually, we can see their pivots are all here. Duplicate the whole thing. look at this piece first. So definitely some polys we can save in here. So it's symmetrical, which means we can... Oh, come on. It's not on the grid. Which means we need to change it on the high poly as well. Try and keep things centered. It's going to make your life way, way easier. Still fits. Okay. So, because this is symmetrical on, definitely on 4 axes, we can let's go top orthographic. Delete half, delete a quarter. So because this part's going to be inside, we can lose polys here and it's not going to cause a problem. So I think we start trimming all this down, doing it manually. It's kind of hard to do this kind of thing automatically, but we are doing it only once, right? And then duplicating it, so still pretty quick in the scheme of things. Same here. Where's the central line? There isn't really one. Once again, you know, it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it's going to be inside the mesh, you know, like behind the glass. No one's going to really see it in here, so we can save some polygons in here for sure. That one should have been deleted when I did delete the quarter. We could even do this. So what you can actually do is I can grab these edges. Actually, no. I was going to do collapse edge, but that collapses it to the center. So I'm just going to carry on target welding. Could be faster. But a lot of retopo stuff, it's, you know, put in a bit of time to make your mesh way more efficient. So I'm going lower on the inside than the outside because this part, like I said, is hidden. We wouldn't reduce the curvature so much on the front. And start getting rid of some of these. Have a look from the side, see which ones are supporting the curvature. Do we need this one? Probably not. Go 2, 2, 2, 2. Keep this one in the middle. Gonna save. No, it should be fine for now. So these nice triple bevels are really handy for Retopo because we can just delete one edge of the bevel, right? Same here. Same here. A massive reduction already. God, the camera's messing up. Don't like that triangulation any day of the week. Something like that is a quad. I mean, do we need this little shape up here? I'm going to leave it for now. And remember, whatever we do there, we have to also do on this side. So I'm going to delete that. I am going to collapse a bunch of these back edges because we're never going to see them. So shift right click, collapse edge. Just basically target welds the two verts on either end to center. There and there. And to be honest, we could get rid of this bevel on the back. Depends how we're doing for polygons, right? Let's get rid of that. I think we need to keep this shape there. As annoying as it is to have those little polygons. So on the front, we're a bit more limited. We can't delete as much. Could do something like this. Problem is, if we do that, where else do we collapse? Maybe like merge this one this way. We'll have to see how it looks when we bring it back round. So I should have started deleting some of these. That's fine. Let's go back. Definitely need to get rid of all of these. This detail is fine enough that it will bake on without any supporting geometry underneath it, so we don't need to keep anything here. Just looking at where the silhouette is, keep this one probably keep both of those. Lose these two. Lose this one, and this one, and this one. Keep that one, but lose all these. And obviously we can compare to our high poly in just a sec and decide whether we got rid of any that we want to keep. Don't need that one. Looks pretty good. So I can obviously just grab my high poly, duplicate, snap it to the grid. You can see it's still really close, so I'm not worried about that bake. Collapse. Collapse. Turn that quad into a triangle, save a polygon. Same there. I'm unsure whether we even need this bevel around the back. In fact, I'm going to get rid of it. Why not? So this is a hard edge on the back, but the bevel's on the outside where we need it. I think that's much more important. If your target word's a little slow, remember you just delete history. It should speed up a little bit. So I'm going to do something like this. We want to keep that because it's supporting an edge. So it doesn't look too bad when we look at it in soft edges, or it's without the edges highlighted, which is always a good sign. I know what I'm going to do up here. Instead of removing the top, I'm just going to collapse the edges because it's too small. That's better. Perfect. I don't think there's any more we can get rid of here without starting to affect the silhouette a lot. Maybe this one. We need it. We need it. That's fine. It's 244. Just merge verts just to be sure. Let's see what happens when we start rotating it back around. So there's all 4. Mesh, combine, edit mesh, merge. So what I forgot to do was move everything out. Just drag stuff out of the group to ungroup it. Make a new group for low. I'm gonna stick that group inside bottle. So we have bottle high, bottle low. So this is bowl low, and it is 900 triangles versus 4,000. Pretty good start. I think we could get this down more, delete some loops if we didn't really needed to. But obviously the more edge loops you delete, the more obvious how much you've retopoed it becomes. Since this is way under the bottle, let's just, because it's going to save us a bunch. Yeah, almost no difference to the look. I think we can also get rid of this. Cool. Bottle's normally easy. I would start with mesh reduce, not remesh, misclick. Mesh reduce. And I would keep going until it starts deleting vertical edges. So I don't want to delete any vertical edges with this tool. I want to delete the vertical edges by hand. So yeah, 70 seems to be a good point to start at. The nice thing about cylindrical shapes that have been made with subdivision is that we can select these loops to double select every other edge loop, which is really good. This thing is going to both ends, so we just need to double click down here. It's really quick. We can delete all those edges. But then we do need to do it the old-fashioned way here a little bit, so let's go every other and turn off the grid. Just confusing me. I'm also going to turn off transparency on this material. Since there's nothing inside the glass we need to see, we don't need the transparency on. That's just much less confusing to my little brain. Selecting every other edge, I'm just using the way that they're linked up as a kind of visual guide. I know that every edge that has this thing is alternating. Control delete. Something's wrong with my delete key. What happened here? Oh shit. Okay, I didn't notice that at the time. There we go, way better. Now, I would be tempted to reduce this more because it's hidden inside the snake and inside the frame, and all the details are on the outside. But we'll come back to it if we need to. For now, I'm going to start deleting radial edges. One, two. I'm just doing like 2 and then leave 1 and then 2 and then leave 1. Remember, it's a little bit uneven because we used reduce, which deleted some edges but not all. So as a result, we have some kind of uneven topology going up the mesh. But like, it doesn't matter. You know, the even nice topology that we are going to bake on is what we're going to see at the end of the day. Yeah, and whilst I'm here at the top, I'm going to reduce it by half. really be brutal here. Because stuff is obscuring the silhouette of your bottle, so you don't need to see all the details. Now, I think we've lost a bit too much detail at the top, so I'm going to just duplicate the low poly one again. High poly one, sorry. You shift select to get the low poly. I believe that we do definitely on the outside need a bevel. So something, just scaling it out so it matches the low, the high. It's this edge we want to bake nicely. Now, you know these corners are they're not going to be perfect in the bake. But it's really like a case of where do we want to keep the detail. And I think we want to keep detail on the snake. We want to keep detail on the crown and the ropes. And these two pieces, I can get rid of this. That was a duplication, right? These two pieces are somewhere that we're going to sacrifice a lot of detail. So up to 1,230 now. What about this snake? Snake's going to be tricky. So let's name this bottle low, misspelled, low. I know that this is the challenge, right? The snake shouldn't be too bad. You could automatically remesh retopo this. Do you know what I would actually do? I would cut it in half. And I would retopo the body automatically and the head with quad draw. In fact, maybe even like, let's see what it does. See what reduce does to begin with. The problem is like this is what Jasrup said in the message, that it's hard to retopo this and keep the detail on the teeth. But that's why I think the best result is to do it in two parts. The body is just basically a helix, right? It's a tapering helix. We can delete these loops and we'll have a really nice result. So let's cut it up to here. You can use mesh, edit mesh detach. So this edge is actually, can't see it because we have both selected. But that edge loop is now two edge loops. If I move that, you see it's not attached anymore. That means I can mesh separate this piece. So this one should be really easy. Let's try a mesh reduce first. That's really not bad. The question is, do we want to like evenly delete all these first and then reduce? Or do the reduce first and then delete these? My concern is that reduce will start deleting edges that go up the snake's body, and it's going to mess up our even deletions that we're doing here. You can see it's topologized in the same way as the bottle was, right? Because there's a circle of triangles here, it deals with the subdivision topology by making loops that go all the way from one tip to the other tip, which is actually really nice for retopo work. Say exactly the same again. So what am I doing like overall? What's the general approach here? When you do retopo by deletion, like deleting edge loops, you're going to kind of shrink your mesh a tiny bit because you're deleting edges that are holding the shape out. Like imagine if there was an edge here, which there used to be, it would actually have been pulling the snake's silhouette out a little bit like this, right? So the general approach for retopo by deletion is remove the edges, compare the high to the low, and see if you need to change the shape of anything. See if you need to like scale stuff. So there's some weird weird topology here. I think hopefully we can just do this. So I'm going to start linking all this up. What I'm trying to do here is link up the geometry in a way that I'm going to have it set up permanently after we delete the loops, and also break the edge flow. So if I double click select this, it no longer goes all the way around the edge, around the mesh. So I should just be able to delete the edges real easy. And same with these. Perfect. So we still have way too many edges, but we've got to keep some. But we don't need to keep that one. Probably that one either. See, I don't want this hard edge. Maybe I can delete this one. I mean, I guess that's better. And that one. And that one, and that one. I mean, that was kind of like an important part of the snake silhouette, but you know, if this doesn't work, the solution would be quad draw. Like quad draw is the best way, right, to get any unusual shape. The problem is quad draw takes a lot more time. So I'd say unless you have a really complicated shape like the face, I probably will quad draw. But everything else, try the quick ways first. If you can't get a good result with the quick ways, then use quad draw, unless you're really confident and fast at quad draw. So I'm going to delete every other edge loop here. And this will take some time. But we do have time. Remember, Control plus Delete, we don't want to leave any verts behind, if possible. Sadly, there is no script to select every other edge loop, as far as I'm aware. I have sought one for so long. Or to select like patterns of edge loops. Like if I could set it to be like, I double click here and then you select every 2 edge loops and with 1 gap, and that would be so good. So good for Retopo. Any aspiring tech artists in the class, please write that script for me. $450 or $500 basically. So when you're deleting loops, you're looking which loop is changing the silhouette the least, and that's how you're going to decide which one to keep. I'm going to save this just in case it crashes. So I was considering cutting it up to here and doing this part automatically as well, but I just noticed there was a topology change on the hood as opposed to on the body of the snake. So I think the easiest way is to do this entire thing with quad draw. So I'm going to go to Make Live, Modeling Toolkit, quad draw. One thing we do want to be able to see is how many, we want this to link up, right? So something like this. All right, we're matching the polygons we have down there so we can easily target weld. Obviously I need a loop there. And that loop is going to be what supports the start of the hood as well. So like hood, hood. So this is going to take a bit of time. Quad draw always does. And quad drawing around shapes that have a thin little edge is always a pain. So it's the most annoying thing you can do with quad draw, basically. But what we can do, I believe, gotta make the edge loop all the way around first. Try and get the topology looking. Try and get it to follow the existing path. Remember, this isn't getting animated, so it doesn't need to all be quads, and it doesn't. The geometry doesn't really need to conform to the deformable parts of the creature. You know, this is like we're doing basically a character retopo here. We've got a little face. So there is a way to extrude a whole edge loop. Remember, you can go down to keyboard and mouse shortcuts. So tab and left click and drag, it extrudes an edge loop. It extrudes an edge, but to extrude a whole edge loop, tab and middle mouse. Let me do this. Obviously, some of this stuff is a bit misaligned, but we can then just sort it out by hand. A bit misaligned might be an understatement. Where is that point? So you can always, if you can't reach a point like it's tucked in the mesh, you can always grab the edge it's attached to and kind of manipulate that until you have a bit of control over the point. I'm amazed it let me link those up. Oh, it didn't. Okay. It did. I feel like it's going to be easy to do this by extruding the whole thing. So we have kind of this like face slide type movement when we extrude a whole loop like that. Come on, I can see that edge. Yes. Add edge loops in to get better conformity. Obviously, as with all things, you can spend more or less time on quad draw to get it perfect. I'm going to spend too long. I don't have too long, so let's just get it bare bones in. And obviously, the nice thing about Quadro is you get to choose how much topology you want to give something. Right now, it's super chunky, super low poly, but we can always add more and more loops in to get as close to the base geometry as possible. So here I'm gonna try and get some of this head shape done. I don't think we need oops. I need to clear dots. So it's based on a camera angle, right? So I was trying to link up these four here, but if it's not working, I can just use the extrusion. To drag that all over the place to get the thing to cooperate. Come on. I'm not super worried if it's like completely symmetrical, because remember this is once again not getting animated. No one's gonna see. Let's put a triangle there, why not? No one's gonna see if the mesh hasn't been topologized. If it doesn't have perfect topology, because you're never gonna see the topology move. So I need to isolate these two now. So turn off live surface, select the mesh, isolate, select the low poly, go back to quad draw mode. Ooh. Turn on make live, select the low poly, back to quad draw. did I do this side? Come on. There we go. I think I'm going to do the teeth as separate parts as well. So I'm just going to ignore the teeth. And then we'll add some. Just trying to add some geometry to support the inside of the mouth a little bit. But to do that, I'm making edge loops across the whole thing, and then I'm trying, like, it doesn't want to make triangles. It's quad draw. Quad draw tries to make quads. But you can force it to make triangles. So I'm just cleaning up, aka getting rid of all the extra loops I don't need by forcing it to make triangles. I'm sure there's actually a way to like basically multi-cut in quad draw, but you can also drop the quad draw tool, turn off make live, come out of the tool and do that kind of thing just with normal multi-cut and then turn quad draw back on. But it's just an extra step coming out of the tool and stuff, so I'd rather not. Needed an extra loop along there for getting the shape right. Actually, that's looking pretty good. Also going to link up there. Hey, what do you know? We're back with quads again. So there's our low poly so far. Turn off make live, delete history freeze transforms. Let's do some target welding. So mesh combine. Pretty sure the positions of this low poly are in better places than the other one. So we've got to sort out some extra edges here. Now, I would argue we don't actually need them on the back. So I'm just going to triangulate them here. And then just delete. You know, if that part's relatively flat, that's somewhere that we do want to save the polygons. Could add an extra loop in, but I'm just going to do this. Okay, so we're at 700 on the snake. The eyes should bake fine, but we do need to do the teeth. So I'm actually just going to convert this into the God, I can't speak. Into the low poly, since we don't need this anymore. It was on face mode, right? Face, please. There we go. So these are like a hero part of the mesh, I would say. These are a part where we want to preserve details where we can. I'm going to assign Lambert 1 to them. And they're not that high poly anyway, so let's figure out what we can do. The camera wasn't being such a tricky one. Yeah, like that. Obviously, we can come back to these teeth and remove polygons if we're over the limit at the end. But like I said, I personally think it's worth keeping the polygons here. They're a big kind of part of the identity of this design. That's something everyone should think about, right? Like, what is the important part of my design that makes it identifiable? I could have just made new teeth. I don't know why I'm like deleting the existing geometry on them, but so let's grab the high poly snake. Yep, it's in the right place. I'm just hiding it to check the alignment of everything else I've made. You can use quad draw from outside of an edge, outside of a mesh, like so. Not quad draw, target weld. Multi-cut, Jesus Christ. So I just did that to add an edge loop going all the way around. And then I'm going to clean everything up by target welding. I'm going to make it a little bit chunkier. Oops. Because we're baking onto it, right? So, and also we've deleted a bunch of edges. I know it's a bit chunkier than this. Get out, get out. Oh, excuse me. So just making sure the alignment is good. They don't need to be too much chunkier than the existing mesh. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Same here. Just trying to get it as close as possible. Okay. Delete that high poly snake. Got to make sure those parts stay tucked in to the jaw. There we go. Snake low. Cork low is going to be really easy. Let's just do mesh. Now, honestly, it's easier to just do it like this. New cylinder, snap it in place, like, you know, 7 sides, 8 sides, would be plenty to bake. Snap it, get it around about the right size, grab the top, snap it, grab the bottom, snap it. This always happens. Bevel, bevel. Oh, I pressed there. Excuse me. Can't undo it now. Sake. Whatever. Let's do it by hand. We just need one bevel to bake that edge nicely. Something like that. Get rid of this. So all the low parts together is 2000. So we have like 3000 left for this. Okay. This is going to be tricky. Also, just as like a general design thing, doesn't this want to be like tighter around the bottle? Obviously, I can't change it here because I have to change it on the high and the low, but just something to think about. Okay. I'm going to go modify convert polygon edge to curve. So I have this curve here. Some kind of a curve that runs along the middle of all the rope. I'm going to go to curves, rebuild. We want way less CVs. So let's go for like 12, I don't know. So it's a much simpler curve now. Oh, that's not good. Oh. We need more than 12. Let's go with 24. Okay, that's better. We can always adjust it. Thing is, does it have an end? This is a closed curve, so we need to snip it. So we select curve point. Curve point is like a position along the curve. Remember, it's any point along the curve which you define by clicking. So I'm going to just click somewhere. And there is detached curve. So now if I go to edit points, wait. Is that not how that tool works? Oh, 1 sec. Cut curve Maya. May need to do it from an edit point. Wait, no, this is the end, isn't it? Ah, okay. It was cut. I guess I was selecting both edit points. I was done. So let's do extrude along curve. In this case, try 5. 5 is like the lowest you can get away with. In my opinion. Hold C, middle click and drag to snap to curves. Scale. Scale, scale, scale. Okay. So the curve is backwards, but that's fine. We can just reverse it afterwards. 32 divisions. 28 divisions. Yeah, that's good enough. It's a starting point. Mesh display. Reverse. Now, normally I would keep the curve. And do stuff like this. In fact, let's do that. I was going to just move the edges, but let's get it like at least pretty close. by CVs. Doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection. Now I'm going to delete the curve. So I'm going to delete history on the mesh. So it's no longer relying on the curve, but I'm going to delete the curve. I'm going to go in wherever the start was here. Select these, deselect, deselect, delete. Grab this edge in edge mode. And I'm going to just do a little. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go shift, click, bridge. And then I'm just going to delete this edge. Just need one. Okay. Now it's time to start matching this geometry a little bit better. So adding edge loops in when we need them. We will figure out how we're going to do these spiky bits later. I did say when you first started this one, it was going to be hard to retopo. But hopefully we'll have enough polygons left over that we can basically just have the spikes full res pretty much. Depends how well this part bakes. Come on. Almost there. So obviously you could be at this for a while, trying to get the best result possible. Just noticing that a lot of this needs to come in a little bit. So let's make sure we only have this selected. Okay. Let's do a quick test on this one. So it's the UV editor. I'm going to create camera based. I'm going to stick an edge in there. And an edge in there. And I'm going to unfold. And just a couple of cuts. Obviously, do a better job of this in real circumstance. Unfold. Orange shells layout. Now, this isn't on the world 0, but it doesn't matter because the high poly is also not going to be on the world 0. So let's export selection. Jazz crown test. So I'd recommend everyone test bake stuff. How I'm thinking this is gonna go. Oh, it's got a weird material on it. That's fine. Is that hopefully these rope parts bake fine, and then we just have to figure out how to put these spikes in. And hopefully, I'm praying it's the same. Like this one and this one and this one are all the same, right? So we can just make one and duplicate it round. If not, it's a lot of work. As a general rule, if you're working with a symmetrical shape, you want to use the same part again and again. Otherwise, you're going to have to retopo it again and again. So let's do a quick test bake here. So this was called Just Crown Test. 2K, Unreal Engine preset, UV tiles off. Texture set settings, bake mesh maps. 2K, grab the high poly, which is Just Crown Test high. Not bad. Let's turn up the distance. We're dealing with quite a big difference between the high and the low here, so we want to make sure. So these weird bits we're getting is where the spikes come out. So I think once we separate the spikes, this actually may work. From the distance we're going to be seeing it, it should look okay. Obviously, we can spend more time. We can add more edge loops. We can conform it more. So what happens if I grab this, and this, and then I go grow, grow. This is a weird, really weird shape, so. But a lot of this geometry is not actually supporting much. Like this is the shape at the end of the day. Let's just keep it like that. Yeah, but that's not good. Yeah. Same here. $60 tries. Acceptable. So I'm gonna extrude all of these in. Just so that always tucked in the mesh. It's an extra, quad on each one, but we shouldn't see any gaps. So I'm going to duplicate the crown from this one, bring it across for reference, hide it quickly. Excuse me. Did I press? Why can't I move this? Of course, it's not on the grid. Wait. Oh, goddamn. So much harder. They're not on the grid and they're not evenly spaced. Let's just try going by 1 degree. Oh. Okay. You have to do them by hand. So. Let's test this one. Proof of concept. If this works, you can just do the same thing for every single spike. And I'm not going to demo it because it's going to take too long. What is that? Project configuration, re-import the low, which was this one. So now you can see we have this little piece. Oh, I didn't do the UVs. God dang. God dang it. Create camera based. There's nothing really to do with these apart from just cut one edge. So or maybe this. Yeah, that would work. This. 2 UV shell to get the full shell. Unfold. Grab all of these. Delete history, freeze transforms on the object. Orient shells layout. Edit. Project configuration. Grab the file again. So now you can see we have the little spikes, bake mesh maps. Worked okay. What you may need to do now to stop there being baking errors here is on the high, you're going to actually have to why is the camera so fucked? Do the same thing. So detach this and then separate this and put all these spikes as a different object from all the strings. That way they're going to bake separately and the baking cage is never going to project this spike onto this string. But that's a proof of concept that that works. This would be our low poly. Let's just, for sake of poly count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 9 of those spike things. So I'm just going to make 9 of them just so we can check the poly count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So everything except for this is 3,000. So you could probably add more detail to this rope. You could maybe even retopo all 3 of the separate ropes the same way but separately and have more detail there. But obviously I'm starting low, we can always add more. This part's super easy. Cylinder. These parts shouldn't be merged together, by the way. It's going to make him difficult to work with. Merged here as well? No, okay. Deleting edge loops again. Classic. What is wrong with the camera? Where's the clip plane? Collapsing all these double edges. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. Unlock normals can fix those kind of problems, but you have to be in object mode for unlock normals to work properly. Oh, I'm confused. Okay. I thought this was more symmetrical. In which case you're going to have to manually retopo every... If every side is different, you're going to have to manually make them, sadly. Let's see. So let's just imagine there was also more of these. So I'm just adding these so we can see the polycount. A little bit over. Where can we reduce polys? probably this string is the most obvious place. It's so skinny. But then we'd also have to do the same on here. We're under the polycount. Hey. So something like that is the way I would retopo it. Obviously, you've made it a big challenge for yourself by having so much asymmetrical stuff. There's really no quick way of retopoing stuff that's different on all four sides, so you're just going to have to do it manually. The same way we did this part, you would have to do for all 9 spikes. The same way you did this part, you'd have to do for all 4 strings. But you can see the potential to get it under the polycount. There's still places we could cut down on polygons inside the bowl. Maybe some polys on the snake's head. But that should all bake fine. Unlock normals, soften edge. There we go. And that's what the low poly looks like. It should bake A-okay.